Julius Robert Oppenheimer was an American theoretical physicist and director of the Manhattan Project's Los Alamos Laboratory during World War II. He is often referred to as the father of the atomic bomb. In this video, we will take a look at 7 unknown facts about Robert Oppenheimer. But before we get into our video, let's talk a little about his life. Robert Oppenheimer, born on April 22, 1904, was a brilliant American physicist and one of the key figures in the development of the atomic bomb during World War II. Known for his key role in directing the Manhattan Project, Oppenheimer led a secret effort and produced the first nuclear weapons. Oppenheimer's intellect and leadership brought together scientists from diverse fields to help solve the complex challenges of nuclear physics and engineering. Despite his influential contributions to science and technology, Oppenheimer's final years were marred by controversy surrounding his political connections and his position on nuclear weapons. Dying on February 18, 1967, Oppenheimer left a legacy that still provokes debate about the ethical implications of scientific advances and the responsibility of scientists to shape the direction of history. Now that you know slightly of Robert Oppenheimer, we can get into the facts. Number 7. His studies for black holes. Oppenheimer's studies on black holes show that he was interested not only in nuclear physics, but also in astrophysics and cosmology. Oppenheimer's studies in this field have made important contributions to the properties, formation, and behavior of black holes. Oppenheimer used the general theory of relativity to understand the properties of black holes. In 1939, Oppenheimer and physicist Hartland Snyder published an article showing that massive objects can collapse into black holes. This paper used Einstein's general theory of relativity to understand the collapse processes of stars in their final stages and suggested that black holes, the final state of stars, could form. But Oppenheimer's most significant contribution to the study of black holes came in the 1960s in collaboration with astrophysicist John Archibald Wheeler. In these studies, the formation, behavior, and effects of black holes were studied in depth. Oppenheimer and Wheeler even popularized the term black hole. Their work laid an important foundation for understanding how black holes attract matter around them, how light is affected, and the universal effects of black holes. Oppenheimer's work on black holes has influenced the modern fields of astrophysics and cosmology. Understanding black holes helped us better understand the evolutionary cycle of stars and the general structure of the universe. Black holes were also used as important laboratories to understand the limits of the general theory of relativity and the strange features of space-time. Number 6. His connection with communism. The relationship between Oppenheimer and communism is an important issue in the United States as a reflection of Cold War-era politics and the Red Hunt. Oppenheimer's relationship with communism affected both his scientific career and his social standing. While Oppenheimer was known for his leadership as a scientist in the development of the atomic bomb, he was also a political and intellectual figure. While working on the Manhattan Project during World War II, he played an important role in U.S. policy-making on nuclear arms control and the dynamics of the Cold War in the post-war period. Oppenheimer's involvement with communism began in his youth when he embraced leftist ideas. In the mid-1930s, he and his wife Kitty were known as supporters of the Communist Party. Over time, however, Oppenheimer moved toward more moderate policies and began to question his allegiance to the Communist Party. Oppenheimer's relationship with communism also came to the surface during his leadership of the Manhattan Project. During the Cold War, when the U.S. government took a hard stance against communism, Oppenheimer's past leftist views and the communist connections of some of his friends called his reliability into question. In 1954, during a security expose, Oppenheimer's negative impact on security and alleged sympathies for communism came to the surface. This led the U.S. government to view Oppenheimer as a security risk. Due to his vulnerability, Oppenheimer's security was restricted and he was excluded from the development of nuclear weapons. This damaged Oppenheimer's scientific career and public reputation. Number 5. His regret about the use of atomic bomb. Oppenheimer's regret over the use of the atomic bomb is a reflection of the ethical and moral challenges that formed an important aspect of his life. The success of the Manhattan Project, which resulted in the dropping of the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, presented Oppenheimer with both a great scientific achievement and a serious ethical dilemma. Oppenheimer was known for his leadership and scientific advice in the development of the atomic bomb. But it was a tragic turning point for humanity when the bombs were dropped on Japan, killing hundreds of thousands of people around the world. Oppenheimer had mixed feelings about the consequences and ethical aspects of this event in the post-war period. There are many sources and documents showing that Oppenheimer's feelings about this event were complex. After the bombs were dropped on Japan in 1945, Oppenheimer wrote a letter to a friend expressing painful distress and regret. In a speech he gave at the same time, he said, "We are responsible for dropping the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the weight of that responsibility will never fall from our shoulders." Number 4. He knew 6 languages, including Sanskrit. Oppenheimer's intellect and interests were not limited by science. After meeting a Sanskrit professor at the University of California, Berkeley, he started taking private lessons to learn the ancient language. By reading works such as the Bhagavad Gita, he was well on his way to learning Sanskrit. At the same time, he was fluent enough in the language to teach Dutch, even when he was teaching at Leiden University in the Netherlands. Oppenheimer's multilingual ability helped him understand different cultures, communicate effectively with the scientific community, and adopt an interdisciplinary approach. Number 3. He got invited to give a lecture when he was 12. From the age of 7, Robert Oppenheimer was interested in crystals because of their structure and interaction with polarized light. During his childhood, Oppenheimer became a passionate mineral collector and corresponded with local geologists in long and detailed letters. The geologists with whom Oppenheimer was in contact were unaware that they were corresponding with a 12-year-old boy. For this reason, they invited Oppenheimer to give a lecture at the New York Mineralogical Club. With the encouragement of his father, Oppenheimer accepted the invitation and gave a speech on the podium by standing on a wooden box. Number 2. His interest in mysticism. Oppenheimer's interest in mysticism was an important aspect of his life and personality. Oppenheimer was not only a leading physicist, but also a thinker who explored philosophical and spiritual realms. His interest in mysticism and Eastern philosophy impacted his worldview and his perspective on both science and life. One of the most well-known aspects of Oppenheimer's commitment to mysticism is his interest in Hindu philosophy and texts, especially the Bhagavad Gita. The concepts of the Bhagavad Gita, especially on topics such as existence, the self, and the moral dilemmas faced by individuals, deeply influenced Oppenheimer. The question of how much Oppenheimer's interest in mysticism influenced his scientific work or decisions during the Manhattan Project is still controversial among historians and scientists. Number 1. He was also studying literature. Oppenheimer was an interesting personality with many interests that went beyond his role as a scientist. Literature was an important part of Oppenheimer's life. It was part of his character to understand and reflect on how science and art could influence each other. Oppenheimer's interest in literature began at a young age. As a child, he developed himself through close contact with books and writings. He especially liked to spend time with literary works, philosophy books, and poetry. He tried to expand his worldview by studying literary works from different cultures. During his university years, Oppenheimer's interest in literature became even deeper. While studying at Harvard University, he also studied history, cultural studies, and linguistics. He took courses in literature and philosophy and sought to understand various cultural contexts. At the same time, he also studied in Germany and became interested in German literature. During the Second World War, Oppenheimer's intense work on the Manhattan Project put his literary interests on the background. However, this interest was reignited in the post-war period. He especially looked for opportunities to write poetry and share his literary thoughts. He studied the works of different authors, participated in literary communities, and maintained contact with intellectual communities. In this video, we looked at 7 unknown facts about Robert Oppenheimer. Share your ideas about Oppenheimer with us in the comments section below. If you liked the video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. See you in the next videos. Stay tuned for the new updates of History Archive.